Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 21st. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We begin with breaking developments in Escondido, where a protest is about to get underway in connection to a fatal officer-involved shooting. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne is live at the Escondido Police Headquarters where the protest is taking place. What can you tell us, Tanya?
Thanks, Maya. We're here at the Escondido Police Headquarters for a protest that's going to start any minute now. It's because of a shooting that occurred this morning here in Escondido. Protesters are getting ready. Escondido Police Department responded to a call this morning around 7 a.m. of an adult white male hitting cars with a metal object at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Broadway. Reports say one officer shot one shot at the man. The suspect was taken to a hospital and later pronounced dead. His identity has not been released, and the case is still under investigation. Nearby businesses told us they hope things don't get out of hand. We're here hoping that everything is going to remain peaceful. We'll give you guys any updates as we get them. Back to you.
And justice is served in one case, but the work is far from over. People across the country, including here in San Diego, are demanding police reforms following the conviction of Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. And the Justice Department is now investigating the Minneapolis Police Department.
The Justice Department has opened a civil investigation to determine whether the Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of unconstitutional or unlawful policing.
KPBS racial justice reporter Christina Kim has more about what some San Diego civil rights leaders want to see happen next.
This was accountability. It is not justice. We are demanding that the system itself needs to be changed. We need systemic change within the justice system, within the policing. And I'm here for that. I am here to continue this fight, because this is just the beginning.
The message was clear as community members gathered after former police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted of murdering George Floyd. The verdict is just the beginning. Reverend Shane Harris is president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates in San Diego.
I will say at the outset that today we are asking the San Diego City Council and the County Board of Supervisors to be courageous and pass a resolution supporting the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act of 2021, which was brought forth by Congresswoman Karen Bass, the great Congress member from the city of Los Angeles.
H.R. 1280, also known as the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, would ban chokeholds, limit qualified immunity, and prohibit racial profiling, among a slew of other reforms. It passed the House of Representatives in March along mostly party lines. Bishop Cornelius Bowser of the Charity Apostolic Church says this bill would have a major impact in San Diego, where studies routinely show that police are more likely to pull over Black and Latino men.
It will radically change how policing is done in our communities, and we need that. We always say that we're taking a step in the right direction, a small step, but I believe that if this bill gets passed, we will be taking a radical step. And that's what we need if we're going to reimagine policing.
The bill heads to the Senate next, but until then, local leaders want San Diego to make a formal resolution in support of the bill to show that San Diego is taking reform seriously on the national and local level. County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says the board will take a formal vote on whether to support H.R. 1280 on May 4th. Christina Kim, KPBS News.
The Chula Vista City Council gave unanimous approval to continue a controversial police license plate program. Members of the public voiced concerns after information was surfaced that the department was sharing data with ICE and Border Patrol through a third-party systems provider. Police say they were unaware of that and immediately stopped sharing data. The program allows cameras on police vehicles to take pictures of license plates as officers drive by.
Chief Roxana Kennedy mentioned murder and trying to scare us into this technology. That's not the way to do it. I love Chula Vista. I love living here. I actually feel safe walking down the streets, even pregnant, at night. So don't paint this city as this horrible, mostly, even though it's a mostly residential city, as though it's violent.
Mayor Mary Salas supported the vote, saying crime is rising and now is not the time to take away crime-fighting resources. The number of people in immigration detention in the U.S. remains at record lows during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties is making another push to end the use of private immigration detention.
Since a high of over 50,000 in 2019, the number of people in immigration detention nationwide has fallen to around 15,000 people. Lawyers with the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties say that drop proves immigration detention is unnecessary, with no tangible impact on public safety or the functioning of the immigration court system.
The bottom line is that people can be released. People can be released pursuant to orders that call for a release of a large number of people at once. And the system will not fall apart. It will continue to operate as it has. People will continue to show up for immigration court.
In a new issue brief being distributed this week, the group is highlighting allegations of abuse at the Otay Mesa Detention Center, which is run by the private prison company CoreCivic. These include medical neglect, poor sanitation, sexual abuse, and the use of solitary confinement.
This reliance on private corporations in immigration detention and incarceration really incentivizes mistreatment and abuse by encouraging corporations to keep costs down to increase profits.
The issue briefing calls for the closure of Otay Mesa and enforcement of a new California law banning the use of private prisons. But Immigration and Customs Enforcement and CoreCivic signed a last-minute contract extension, which aimed to circumvent the new law, meaning that CoreCivic might continue to operate for years to come in San Diego. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
A new report from immigrant advocacy groups declares that President Biden is continuing many of the Trump administration's most destructive policies along the border. The report says the use of Title 42, first put in place early during the COVID-19 pandemic, is keeping families, LGBTQ migrants, and Black migrants in dangerous border cities indefinitely. Nicole Ramos is a lawyer with El Otro Lado, which advocates on behalf of asylum seekers in Tijuana. Her organization was a co-author of the report.
The United States is an exceptional country. We are one of the most powerful and well-resourced nations on earth. Yet the excuses as to why 90 days into this government, Title 42 has not been repealed, really challenges that image that we're projecting to the world.
The report calls for the Biden administration to rescind Title 42 and immediately restore asylum, saying there's more than enough capacity to process arriving families and individuals. We could know soon if the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be reauthorized for use in San Diego. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says having a third vaccine option again will help us reach herd immunity faster.
We haven't seen any areas where there's a lack of demand.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher says supply is still not keeping up with San Diegans who want to get vaccinated.
Given the volume that we're getting to and the number of folks that have been vaccinated, and we continue to see tremendous demand, I think that is encouraging. At some point, there will be more first dose appointments available.
But health officials don't know when that will happen. County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says this week we could know if federal regulators are giving the okay to resume using the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
They are meeting again this Friday, and we will be waiting for the information that they have to share with the public as to what is the next step in continuing to or not continuing with the J&J, but we just don't know that right now.
This week, the county is reporting they received a substantial increase in doses. Despite the hold on the J&J vaccine, we've had nearly 100,000 more doses than last week, an encouraging sign, especially now that everyone age 16 and over can book appointments.
If you haven't been vaccinated, get an appointment and get vaccinated.
Just over 2.3 million doses have now been delivered countywide. Once they start to see slack in appointments, health officials say they will step up engagement efforts for those hesitant about getting vaccinated.
When we hit that point, we'll do aggressive outreach and work and continue to make sure it's available to everyone.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
200 million shots in arms. President Joe Biden says today the country reached the vaccination goal he had set for his first 100 days in office. Now he is appealing to younger Americans to get their shots.
If you've been waiting for your turn, wait no longer. Now is the time for everyone over 16 years of age to get vaccinated. Unlike the target groups where we've made such great progress, the broad swath of American adults still remain largely unvaccinated.
More than half of all American adults have received at least one dose, but about 130 million people have yet to receive one. The White House is trying to overcome diminishing demand by offering businesses a tax incentive to give employees paid leave to get vaccinated. And as KPBS reporter Claire Tregesser tells us, local unions are encouraging their members to get COVID-19 vaccines.
I sign up and done.
Lily Novarino had been looking for a COVID-19 vaccine appointment everywhere with no luck.
The union amazingly organized these clinics for the employees. It was a huge relief because now that looking back and I remember the beginning of the pandemic, coming back from work, leaving my shoes outside, taking my clothes, go straight to the shower. It was really scary. You know?
She's been a Vons worker for 30 years, so she turned to an organization she often turns to for help, her union. Unions across the San Diego region are working hard to get their members vaccinated, employing many of the same tactics they use to get laws passed and favored political candidates elected. They're lobbying lawmakers to grant eligibility to their members and securing separate supplies of vaccines from state and county officials. They've also launched vaccine awareness campaigns among their members.
It is a trusted information source for people.
UC San Diego epidemiology professor Rebecca Fielding Miller says all of this will have a big impact, increasing herd immunity in unionized workplaces and vaccination rates in low-income communities.
There's like a fire hose of information happening all the time, but if your union reaches out to you and says, do this and this on this day, that's really helpful.
It's what we do every day.
Todd Walters is president of the local food workers union. He says they've made it easy for members to sign up for vaccine appointments at union-run clinics and are encouraging those who are vaccine hesitant to get the shot.
When you visit members on a job site, it's people don't understand what a big, how important that really is, because you see people on the job site, you kind of have a captive audience, but most importantly, you build those relationships with them where they trust you, they share information with you.
Unions that represent childcare and home care providers and utility workers have also organized their own vaccination clinics. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union successfully lobbied the governor to add utility workers to Tier 1B so they could begin receiving vaccines in mid-March. Now, Nate Fairman, the business manager for the local branch, says more than 50% of his members are vaccinated.
Your union is one of your most trusted sources of information. People get inundated with information from, their employer, from their, community groups. But when somebody is a member of a union and their union is communicating with them directly about the importance of an issue, whether it's, a candidate that's a worker champion that we really want to get on a school board or an irrigation board or a city council, or an employer, or the importance of wearing a mask, or the importance of getting a vaccination. Study after study shows that workers involved in a union, workers that are members of a union, they trust a message coming from their union.
Bridget Browning, president of Unite Here Local 30, a hotel workers union, says she's letting her members know that skipping the vaccine may cost them work.
I think we're going to have to really tell our members, well, if you don't get vaccinated and this customer says you can't be in their banquet room, like you can't be in their banquet room.
Even for non-union workers, pressure from coworkers and friends can often make a difference in whether they take the shot. Paolo Morales is the sushi manager at Sushi Deli in Mission Hills and says at first many of his coworkers didn't want the vaccine, but now they're coming around.
We're never gonna go over this situation if the 50% of the people got the shot and another 50 just wait to see what's gonna happen.
After seeing Morales and others get their shots, another coworker, Daniel Flores, says he will get one too.
Yeah, it's a new vaccine and we don't know much about it because it's barely coming out, but it's all about each other's health, you know? So we should all get it, be protected, you know?
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
And as always, we have more information about how and where to get your shot at kpbs.org. Just go to our homepage and then click on the Vaccines tab. Some good news for parents and students. The school meals program will resume this fall as schools reopen safely amid the pandemic. The Department of Agriculture is extending the free lunch program through 2022, hoping to ensure children get nutritious options like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and milk. It's estimated up to 12 million children may not be getting enough to eat at home during the pandemic. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared an emergency executive order in 2 Northern California counties in response to drought conditions.
We are taking a sequential approach, we're taking a targeted approach, and we're taking an approach based upon actual conditions on the ground.
Today's announcement affects Mendocino and Sonoma, but could expand statewide. California is bracing for another devastating wildfire season after little rain this winter. The State Department of Water Resources says this is the 4th driest year on record.
Our deep marine layer continues right through Thursday, but later Thursday and Friday, the marine layer will thin just a little bit, but we'll see the continuation of some patchy light rain and drizzle, especially overnight and into early on Thursday. And then a dry and a warming trend from Friday into the weekend. But there's changes coming for next week. We could see a late season storm moving in. Here's our wind advisories continuing through this evening. Up here in the mountains, some gusty westerly winds. And those winds will be strong and gusty into the deserts. Here's our temperatures tonight with all the clouds. Oceanside 54, San Diego 59, just some spotty drizzle or light rain. Temperature drops down to 47, a cool night in Ramona, and 44 in Campo. Here's our future cast. Plenty of clouds, that's for sure, and a few little blips of green out there, letting us know there may be some spotty light rain and drizzle overnight and into early on your Thursday, so the roads could be a bit wet for the morning commute. During the day on Thursday, low pressure heads east, and that means our winds will start to diminish and our marine layer will gradually thin out. Borrego Springs is up to 81, Mount Laguna 48, El Cajon 65, Escondido 62, and San Diego 64. Could see a spotty shower. Here's our high pressure making a return for Friday. Looks like some beautiful weather Friday into Saturday with this ridge of high pressure overhead. Here's the extended forecast. You can see it does get a little milder, but look at Monday, turning cooler. Some showers will be possible. Inland areas brightening up, milder, and then much cooler Monday, showers possible. Mountain areas looks good for the weekend, and Monday much colder, and even in the deserts, significant changes coming for early next week. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Restrictions on non-essential crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border have been extended through May 21st. The Department of Homeland Security says it's to deter the spread of COVID-19. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel visited San Ysidro to see how border businesses are staying afloat.
It's just people just living off of their savings.
It's been more than a year since non-essential travel restrictions were placed at the U.S.-Mexico border. Although U.S. citizens and people with working visas can come and go as they please, tourist visa holders don't have the same privilege. They also happen to be the demographic that keeps the economy going for the businesses in San Isidro. Business owners say their biggest problem is that people who live on this side of the border aren't shopping local, which makes them heavily dependent on customers from Mexico. Executive Director of the San Isidro Chamber of Commerce, Jason Wells, says the chamber currently serves about 800 businesses. He says the majority are within a 2-mile radius of the border crossing.
So you cut off 95% of your customer base to any business. How are you going to survive, right?
Sunil Guerrero, also known as Sunny, the owner of Sunny Perfumes and Maya's Pizza, says he's put everything he has in keeping his doors open.
It's a hard situation, because it's something I cannot just close it down, I have to hold it up and hoping when everything open, hopefully sooner than later.
Sunny says PPP loans are what's keeping him afloat.
So we have a little bit of support from here, there, from the city government, but it's not enough, so it's very hard to survive.
Wells says the Chamber of Commerce has made efforts to talk to the Biden administration. He recently wrote a letter to the president urging him to re-examine border travel restrictions, but he has yet to receive a response.
We just have no representation. There's just no one helping. And you've got entire communities, from here to Brownsville that are just dying on the vine.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
A new trolley line running from the border to UC San Diego is nearly finished. Sandag says the 5-year, more than $2 billion project is on time and on budget. And when it's done, it will serve an additional 21,000 riders. The idea is to alleviate the crowded I-5 corridor as more people begin returning to work.
One of the most important, features of that is reducing the carbon footprint, providing another alternative for folks, and really just connecting the community.
The new line connects people from San Isidro to the VA, the Jacobs Medical Center, as well as UC San Diego. They hope to start testing the line in July and welcome passengers aboard before the end of the year. Now that San Diego is in the orange tier, more and more places are opening back up, including museums in Balboa Park. And today, the recently renamed Museum of Us began welcoming visitors once again. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us what they've been doing during their pandemic-forced closure.
If you think of Balboa Park as a crown, then its museums are the crown's jewels. Among them, the Museum of Us, formerly known as the Museum of Man. Today, after months of being closed, it opened its doors to visitors once again.
It is so wonderful to see this building alive again with people.
The people were pretty happy about it too.
I think it's super exciting. I think being able to come see stuff like this, I think Balboa Park itself is such a big part of the community in San Diego, so I think it's definitely exciting for people that are traveling or even just local San Diegans to come back and be able to enjoy the different perks of their community again.
Over the course of the pandemic closure, many museums in the park took the time to do the kind of maintenance it's difficult to do when a bunch of people are around. Here, they also took the time to do something else, to think about the issue of pay equity.
The people that, meet the public every day have traditionally been paid much lower than administrative staff.
Some of those people had to be furloughed, but now they're being hired back with a big difference.
We hired them at a starting wage of $20 per hour, so living wage plus for our front-facing staff.
The pandemic has brought changes large and small to all the museums in Balboa Park. Here at the Museum of Us, it has sped up a reckoning the museum has been engaged in over the last several years with its ties to European colonialism, beginning with the front facade. Haddon says they worked with Google's Arts and Culture website to present a more fulsome picture of the facade.
It's often not shown from the viewpoint of Native Americans. It's shown from the European viewpoint.
Finally, there is the museum's name change, in the works before the pandemic hit. From Man to Us. The museum says the change better reflects its work towards equity, inclusion, and decolonization. It's open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 5, another welcome step on the path to life in the post-pandemic world. John Carroll, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, after the verdict, as the world reacts to the conviction of Derek Chauvin, we talk with George Floyd's family. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
An update now on our top stories. Protesters are gathering right now in Escondido over a fatal police shooting. Officials say the man was shot and killed after he acted erratically while holding a large metal object, which he had earlier used to smash cars near the intersection of Broadway and 2nd Avenue this morning. An investigation is underway, and the man's identity has yet to be disclosed. Local civil rights leaders are pushing San Diego to formally support the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. The bill seeks to federally ban chokeholds and limit qualified immunity. It passed in the House last month, and the County Board of Supervisors will vote to support the bill in May. And today, San Diego announced a drop in coronavirus hospitalizations along with 263 new cases and 7 deaths. Despite the hold on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the county is reporting a substantial increase in doses of the other 2 vaccines, with 100,000 more doses than last week. At this rate, public health officials say we are on track to reach herd immunity by mid-June. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.